everyone, and welcome to another workshop. This is being hosted by Tim Wagner and me. I am Madhurima Sappatti, a Global Stress Management Facilitator who loves to support multi passionate, ambitious dreamers manage their stress and prevent burnout so that they can do all the things they want to do without their own selves holding them back. I am super excited to introduce you to my friend Tim Wagner. I'm looking on the screen here. The camera's here. It's a bit wacky. Welcome to the Matrix. I'm kidding. It's gonna be a fun space. Tim Wagner here is a professional pointer, and I'm gonna leave it up to him to introduce himself in the way that he finds the best, basically. But I'm super excited to have him here. He's a certified breathwork coach, but he's so much more than that, and I'm excited. Tim, go ahead, introduce yourself to the wonderful audience who's watching us right now.
Madhurima, thank you so much for the opportunity and to share with you and connect with you as well. You're a phenomenal person in the space of stress release and stress work and body, mind, soul. So to be connected with you and be invited for this is an honor and a privilege of mine. Thank you so much. And I know we're going to have a great conversation together as well.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm super excited. So tell us a bit more about what you do, Tim, just so that people have an understanding of why are you the subject matter expert on this particular topic.
Okay. Why am I the subject matter? I'm not used to being a subject matter. Well, I hail from a corporate background, 27 years in hospitality, but I've always had a passion for guiding and coaching, professional speaking, teaching people what I was learning and putting into my life. And then if somebody else found value in it, I'm more than happy to share on that. And through my years of coaching, I always felt that there was just something missing when I was trying to connect with a business person or entrepreneur, or even just an executive. And to be impactful as a coach, we really want to connect with somebody, but for their long-term benefit, right? No point in us just sharing mindful tips or stress release tips or ways to really grow themselves as an individual, which isn't going to be adopted for long-term benefit. And so this was a big question of mine for many years. Last year in August, it was just over a year ago, I was asking the question, just how could I be more impactful? And that's when breathwork came across my path. And when I first saw this, I thought, well, I've been breathing for 51 years. I can't be that bad at it, so let's have a look. Only to discover that there was a lot more to this than I'd ever imagined. So I was a corporate guy. I was living in a very stressed, for many years, a very high-stressed, high-strung environment. And I had no idea at the time how to actually break out of that stressful environment so I could sleep better, be a better performer in my work and also family life, have better health. I had no idea. So when I came across breathwork, I realized, hold on a second, there are thousands, millions of business people, entrepreneurs out there who are now in the place that I was then. How much value would I have had then in my life by knowing what I know now? And doing this breathwork, I connected very quickly that breathing can be a wonderful, very quick and effective way to release stress. And so here I am, decided to really impart on this full on. And as you said, I'm a qualified, certified transformational breathwork guide, where I'll tell you a little bit about what that is, because it goes in a lot deeper than just, we can all breathe. There's a lot more to it than that. And that's what really captured my attention. And it's been a very short period of time, but a massive growth journey.
I can imagine. So let's backtrack a bit for the people who don't know what breathwork is. Can you explain what breathwork means? Because, like you said, it's not just breathing. We have all been breathing for such a long time. Why is this a topic that is being discussed and is being picked up by so many people in this day and age?
Now, that's a good question. If you have a look at what is happening from everybody's outlook in health, not everybody, majority, a lot of people's outlook in health is changing over the last 3 or 4 years dramatically. looking for more natural ways in order to improve their mindset, their body, their spirituality, a little bit more connection to earth, to God, to just the universe. And when you have a look at what is one of the biggest searched over Google, the Google searches of healing modalities, breath work rates at the top for a long, long time. And it was that it's people realizing that just to breathe is not enough. If you have a look at it, what's the very first thing that you do when you're born?
We breathe.
You breathe. What's the last thing you do when you die?
We breathe.
You breathe. In between, you breathe between 20 to 25,000 times a day. Yet, how conscious are you of being an
Mm.
effective breather?
Mm.
So, when I'm looking at this and realizing there's a lot more to just taking a deep breath, somebody says, take a deep breath, you go,
Yeah.
that's actually wrong. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, how can it be wrong? You take a breath, it's oxygen, it's air. Ah, but if you take a breath, a deep breath through your nose, biologically, what happens inside is a completely different story. So I started to apply some of this. I'm going to tell you a quick story now into my own life, thinking, all right, let me see how much benefit this is. So at the time I first started, I was I decided to start training. I wanted to get a bit fitter. I was not an unfit, but not very fit guy. So I thought I wanted to start doing a lot more running. I've got a goal, a dream to do a triathlon. So I thought, let me start running. And this was at the same time as I started to do a lot of research of the power of breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth.
Mm.
I thought, okay, let me have a look. I'm only going to breathe in all my training through my nose. And I can tell you it was very difficult.
Mm.
But the benefits I realized very quickly as I didn't get tired. And running, and I've done now a marathon. I've run a full marathon about 3 weeks ago, only breathing through my nose. I've done a few half marathons. And seeing all the runners around me panting and puffing, and I was not breath hungry once, panting once, breathing through my nose, realizing there's a lot more to being a conscious, connected breather than you could ever realize.
Yeah.
This was a key point for me of a change, and maybe this will resonate with quite a few people.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. Sorry to interrupt you, Tim, but I
Go.
remember when I was once preparing for a marathon, one of my friends who runs a lot of marathons told me that, do not breathe in through your mouth, like, or breathe out through your mouth. Remember to breathe in and out through your nose. And I was like, what does this even mean? Like, okay. I mean, it was advice, and I was looking for advice at that point of time. So I was like, okay, let me try it, and it was a massive change. I'm not gonna lie, it was a really massive change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It does.
that part of the story really resonated with me, with not breathing out through your nose or constantly being in a space of breath hungriness where you're just like, because
Mm.
breathing in through your nose, well, it's exciting, it's also really really helpful. Yeah.
Helpful and very, very healthy. But let's not go
Mm-hmm.
into the let's not go into the biology of that right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of research and studies coming out about it.
Mm.
One of the key areas that really caught my attention with breathing, before I'll talk about the modality, there's one very
Mm-hmm.
specific modality that I'm very passionate in. But when it comes just to general breathing, when you start to understand that your autonomic nervous system, which is all the parts of your body that happen without you thinking, it happens just
Mm-hmm.
automatically. Your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your body temperature, your cell generation, all of everything that happens, your digestion that you don't think about, including your breathing, because we don't
Mm.
think about it, it's autonomic. Your breath is the only part of your nervous system that you have complete control over.
Mm. Yep.
There's got to be a reason for that. Try and control your heartbeat. Not so easy.
Yeah. Not
right?
really.
Not really. Try control
Yeah.
your blood pressure. Not so easy.
Yeah.
But if you can learn how to breathe effectively, your
Yeah.
breathing style can change everything else. And learning and realizing and understanding that was a huge shift for me, going, aha.
Mm. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think when I was first starting out, I used to share a lot of stress management tips on how to quickly calm down and manage yourself, come back and ground yourself in a minute or so. And looking back at it, a lot of them were revolving around breath and how breath can directly or indirectly help you calm down. One of the things that I often used to tell people was place your hand on your pulse and then notice how when you take a deep breath in, your pulse will beat faster, but then when you slowly breathe out through your nose, it will slow down.
Mm,
And that was something that could help people genuinely feel themselves and be in a space of awareness, because they're not all over there, they are focusing on their pulse and they're focusing on their breath, and that helps them kind of ground themselves. And then now when you were talking about this, it helped me realize that a lot of the techniques around stress management, and rightfully so, because breath is connected to the vagus nervous system. And I
yeah.
love reading, I'm currently hooked on to the polyvagal theory, and how with just a few deep breaths you can trigger your vagus nervous system, which stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which then helps you manage your stress really quickly, which is really exciting. And a lot of words for people who don't who are very new to this topic. I apologize, I can geek out and nerd out. But I would like to kind of come in from an understanding of what stress is. Now, as Tim said, even our stress response is triggered by the autonomous nervous system. It's very instantaneous. A lot of times we don't even register that we are in a stress response. Imagine, you feel like a snake is walking close to you. You're going to jump and jump away from that snake even before you realize what happened. A lot of times, or let's say a modern time example would be a car whooshing past you, and you just
Mm,
instinctively turn away from that to minimize the impact. And so I think that a lot of times our body does things to help us survive even before we register it. Now, the importance of learning breathwork, the importance of understanding stress management techniques is, even though you're not aware of when you enter the stress response, you are aware of when you can get out of it. You don't need to be stay you don't need to stay stuck in that response
mm,
of um, all your systems being put on a hold that are not necessary in your survival, and all your other systems being in hyper. Your breath is very shallow, so it's only till here, it doesn't go beyond this. Your heart is beating really fast, your blood pressure is really high. You have all of these things occurring, and being in a prolonged state of that can lead to a lot of issues somewhere down the line. It has happened to me. I'm talking from personal experience. The way that I knew that I needed to work on my stress was the fact that I was constantly falling sick every time I would get stressed out. I would
there we
have
go.
throat infections, I would have digestive issues, I would have high acidity, uh, I would have migraines. Like, it was a full on, full fledged thing of diseases,
Mm,
diseases, and issues that was happening inside. And that was like, okay, you know what? I think we need to work on this. I can't stay in this system where I'm not caring for my body, and my body is not able to sustain the environment internally and externally that is existing.
right.
It's not going to do a lot of good deals. So that is basically stress, and what stress does to you.
Yep.
And I would like you, Tim, if you have any further things you would like to add on to that, please share. Yeah.
You're so right. We don't realize that living in this high-paced information technological age, that we remain in that stress state
Mm.
for a long period of time. So when you're jumping back, like your example of you're stepping off the curb and this car comes whooshing around, and you quickly step back. You take a deep breath in, your heartbeat goes up, your blood pressure goes up, the stress hormones rush through your
Mm.
body, adrenaline, and it rushes through. but then the danger's gone. You can't.
Yeah.
What we're doing in society, in our businesses, in our family lives, are demanding of us to remain in this high stressed state for long periods of time. And exactly as you described it, our bodies are not designed for this.
Yep.
And that's where you get dis-ease. That's where you get, and you mentioned the vagus nervous system, where you get dorsal vagus shutdown,
Mm-hmm.
because your body in the end starts to collapse. It can't cope. We were not designed like that.
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing. Because of survival of the fittest and evolution, we are used to managing stress only in short bursts of time, not more than that, right? So it's, oh, you jump back from the curb, jump back onto the curb when the car rushes past, and then eventually you slow down. Your body has a natural mechanism that helps you manage your stress. However, because we are in a scenario where we are constantly stressed, there's one thing after the other, you are now in a panicked state, and you're wondering, oh, I'm getting late to my meeting and I have to catch a cab, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to take care of my kids, I have to eat
Exactly.
lunch, I have to prepare dinner. There's so many things going on that you're not able to get out of that, and your body is not used for that. It's not made for that. And god forbid we evolve into a space where we have to constantly live in a stressed out space. That is something that I'm not excited to be in. I don't want that kind of an evolution because that's so scary.
It is.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
very scary. As half of our systems are on shutdown mode and the other half are hyperactive.
But here's the thing. The
Yeah.
question then is, if this is what society is demanding of us, and you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and you just happen to be in this constant state, what do you do about it? How do you manage it? And that became where I was looking at this and saying, how do I send this message out so that when
Mm.
I'm with my clients and I'm doing coaching or I'm doing speaking, I can actually then help them learn a few new skills. And funny enough, breathing is a skill. It's a little bit ridiculous. I had a client last month and he said to me, it's crazy world that I have to pay somebody to teach me how to breathe. And I said, yeah, it is, because
Yep.
it's a skill that we have not been taught. There
Mm.
wasn't when you're born, the reality is that we should have been given a breather's operating system manual,
Yeah.
right? But we're not. Especially in the Western society, I've had some phenomenal chats with people from India,
Mm.
where they were taught how to breathe, and breathing was a way that they were actually brought up.
Yes, yes, we were. We had all these pranayamas that we used to do in school on different breathwork techniques. And here's the crazy thing: back then we used to be like, "What's the point of this? Like why? This is just a waste of time. I would rather go back to class or play in the playground or read comics or be a nerd like I am." But in all of these things, we were. Here's the thing. I think it's about knowledge being presented with no understanding of why this knowledge is important. Does that make sense? Like you are taught all of these things, and by default we have a lot of these tools built up in our body. We don't know how to use it or the importance of using it,
Right.
right?
That's so true.
Yeah.
Anything you teach a child, unless it's, but it becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
Unlike the Western world, unlike, I'm from South Africa, breathing's never spoken about. It's never taught at school in America, the Europe, the UK, Australia. It's not in discussion. But
Mm.
understanding that this is not new modalities, but there's a new shift in society in the way people are beginning to think about more holistic ways to live, to heal ourselves. There's some phenomenal books. There's a book which I'm presently reading, which was written in 1903 by a yogi who's basically saying, and I love this, I'm going to quote this, I remember it very specifically. He says, you don't eat through your nose, so why do you breathe through your mouth?
Oh,
So, the
that's a
one was
good one.
designed for one purpose and the other for the other.
Yes.
The reason, this is written in 1903. you realize there's a lot more available out there for us. So what do we do about it? How do we take this forward to our clients, to the
Mm.
listeners, everybody watching this? And what can you do? This what I call these daily breathing modalities, breath hacks.
Mm.
And where I got it from, I borrowed it from somebody, I don't know, which are just simple 60-second or 90-second breathing techniques
Mm-hmm.
which anybody can learn and apply immediately into your daily life to lift you up when you're feeling lethargic and it's down, you've had a heavy lunch, you've got a presentation to do. How do you get your mind awakened where you don't have to turn to another cup of coffee, which is going to give you a spike and then going to crash
Oh, yeah.
afterwards? Or what is it that you can do to in you're about to do a presentation or go onto a stage and do a to talk to your staff or clients, or you're doing a talk? What do you do to calm yourself so you can get a little bit more
Mm.
resonance in your body and your mind? 60-second breath hacks can apply this. So these are very popular, and I'm posting about and sharing about them all the time. And but here's the difference of what I enjoy doing. I'm going to lead Mahindra into what it is that I actually want to share. You see, my interpretation of, and this is purely my interpretation of somebody's mind, which leads to massive stress. In our minds, we're given all this information right from when we're babies. We go to school, more information. You go to college, more information. Our parents, information, social media, your cell phone, your computer, the news, the government, information overload all the time, right? We're dealing with a society which leads to the buildup of this stress. So if you imagine your brain is just getting filled with all of this stuff all the time. A coach comes along, a mindfulness coach, or I prefer to call a mindlessness, because we want to try and empty it, not fill it. Our minds are full of stuff already, chaos, that chit chatter of that brain, which doesn't allow you to go to sleep at night, right? I think a lot of people know that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here's my interpretation of it. Now, your mind is full. You've got a headache, so you take a painkiller. You've got a migraine because there's just too much stress, so you pop a pill. That maybe masks the problem.
Mm.
It maybe just it helps you feel a little bit better that you can at least focus, but it doesn't get in and go into what's the root cause of that anxiety, that stresses, that migraine. So a breath hack can help you really just get focused in that moment. But you need to go back to what is causing you that anxiety in that situation at that moment in time. Because it's not the stressful situation that causes stress, it's our reaction to that stressful situation that
Mm.
causes stress.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I always tell people stress is pretty much internal, to be completely honest, and it's a tough pill to swallow, but it is. It's how you respond to scenarios.
It
Right? Once
is.
again, it's coming back to while you might get into the stress response very quickly because our mind is looking at a threat and is like, okay, yeah, this is a real threat or this is a perceived threat. At the end of the day, it is a threat,
The threat.
right? And in a
Yep.
scenario like that, you are already in the stress response, but how long are you staying there?
Exactly. And what
That
do you
is,
do? How can you
yeah.
identify you're still there, and what do you do to get out of it? And that used
Yep.
to be my problem in corporate, is I was permanently in a stress state, going
Mm.
home in a stress state, trying to sleep in a stress state, waking up in a stress state. I called it brain fog,
Oh,
where
yeah.
I'd wake up and for the first hour of the day, you wouldn't talk to me because I couldn't function,
Yeah.
and carried on. But in that moment, not realizing and understanding that there is a way to actually get about dealing with the daily stress and, more importantly, the long term.
Mm.
Long term. And that was where I went and studied. I called myself a transformational breathwork guide. I wanted to be really transformational and not just provide very vital, very important, a breath hack, but to go back into the brain, into the subconscious, and say, what is impacting this? What is causing a huge amount of the stress? We need to go back in history because fear is purely driven from your past experience. So you jump back from that car because of the fear of getting hit.
Hmm.
It's that Yeah, fear, fight, flight.
Mm.
Breathe from. So if we can take people to back, where now you're saying, how do we solve or repackage those
Mm.
stresses, anxieties from the past, which you carry with you? It's that food mind, it's got all of it. We want to clear all this out. We want to allow our bodies to naturally heal themselves,
Mm.
naturally release these traumas, these stresses that we carry, this
Exactly.
anxiety. That was what was an essential part for me, because then you're getting transformational change with a person who is living in a high stress environment, who
Mm.
can then suddenly find, and it is quite sudden, it can be very, very impactful in literally an hour or 2 hours, that you're able to handle those stressful situations much better in that moment. Now you're
Yes.
doing a transformational change.
Yes, I absolutely love that because here's the reality. A lot of times, you need to understand that when you're stressed out, you are not using the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical side of the brain. This is why we end up making a lot of stupid decisions, a lot of silly decisions when we
So
are
true.
stressed out, right? We looking back at it, we go, that was such a stupid thing to do. Why did I do it? Because you weren't thinking. You were simply acting to survive. At that
Right.
point of time, when you are in a stressed out situation, you are thinking from your reptilian side of the brain, the emotional side of the brain, the brain stem, the limbic system. You are thinking from those areas. You're not thinking from the prefrontal cortex. And so breath hacks and so all the other cool techniques that we have to share basically become a way to help you come back to yourself, manage your stress so that you can reconnect with the prefrontal cortex and start to come up with logical situations and solutions to whatever you're dealing with. So that's pretty much it. But Tim, I invite you. Do you have a few breath modalities and breath hacks that you would like to share with the people on this call so that they can walk away with a couple of practical tools to
I
explore?
do.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, and it's also one of the most popular ones, is is the box breathing technique.
Hmm.
The reason why it's so popular is that people in the army, the armed forces, and firefighters use this as part of their training. Even the Navy SEALs are taught this because they're living in a constant fear, fight, flight state, high
Hmm.
strung state. They're actually taught this. And box breathing is a beautiful way to get that calmness and just get a recenter between the mind and the body and the heart.
Hmm.
So should
I
we
love
give
that.
this a round quickly? Should we do this for
Let's
one or
do
two?
it.
Let's do
Let's
this.
do it.
Everybody
Yes.
can. All right. So it's a very simple technique. What you're
Mm-hmm.
going to imagine is just basically a box. So you're going to sit ideally with your back and nicely against a rest. Your hands can be on your lap wherever they want to be, and your feet flat on the floor. Ideally doing this with your feet flat on the floor because you're then connected to the earth. And all that you're doing is you're breathing in for the count of four, you're holding for the count of four, you're breathing out for the count of four, and you're holding for the count of four. And you're literally going to be doing that for the saving of time. We're just going to do that 4 times. And you're welcome to close your eyes as well. But very important that not only are you breathing correctly, in and out the nose, your mouth is closed, but you're also counting in your head. And I'll tell you why the counting is so important just now. In fact, it's just as, if not maybe slightly less, but just as important as the correct breathing. So, shoulders relaxed. You don't want to move your shoulders at all. Shoulders relaxed. I'm going to count you down from 3 to 1, and then you're going to take a nice, slow, deep breath in. I'm going to be counting from 1 to 4. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. Nice, slow, deep breath in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. One more round. In, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Back to normal. Beautiful breathing. Feel your body and feel the air just pretend you're feeding it into the heart. And you can slowly open your eyes.
That was so good. Oh my
How
god.
calming is something as simple as that?
Yeah. So to be fair, Tim, I usually do it for like 6 to 8 seconds. So it was like a bit weird for me to go back to 4 seconds. But it was really good nonetheless because it was guided in a way like I usually do it in my head, and so it's really cool to be in that space and to be guided. And so for all the people who are watching this, I genuinely invite you, if you want to hit pause and just keep it in a loop. And you know what I'll do? Oh my gosh, it's such a cool idea. I'll just make a shot of Tim taking us through the box breathing exercise, 4 rounds of it, and then it will be on a loop. And so you can do it for how many ever number of times you
Perfect.
want to do. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I've got one I can also send you as well. So that's one
Yes.
of my favorite. And I mentioned to you that the counting is so important. You see, when you're breathing like with that, breathing like that, and you're counting, that chit chatter, overactive brain
Hmm.
can't do both.
Yep.
So you'll find that your brain starts to slow down as well as your body. And that's where you get the resonance.
I love it. I love it. My question is, do you have, and only share this if you want to, Tim, but do you have a breath modality that helps you bring your energy up?
Yes, there is. I actually shared one this morning with my network, with my group. It's called, it's the 50 breaths, or as often as commonly known as coffee breathing.
Hmm.
This is one
Okay.
that you would use to replace that cup of coffee in the morning when you need to wake up, or before you got a presentation, you're feeling lethargic and you're feeling a little bit tired and down. You don't know, you need to build that energy. It's effectively 50 fast, rapid breaths in and out your mouth because you're activating the sympathetic nervous system. So instead of your nose, where you're breathing in your belly to calm you, you'll want to activate yourself. Wake up. So you're breathing in and out your mouth 50 times. So one breath a second, breathing here. And then on your 50th, you hold your breath for 50 seconds.
Wow.
That gives you a absolute boost. Now, there's a couple of things. The first is don't drive while you're doing this.
Uh huh.
No operating heavy machinery, because you could get lightheaded. I'll
Mm.
explain. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that just now. That was a fascinating thing I found out. So that you could get lightheaded when you're doing this because of the way that you're activating your body, but you will feel a lot more awake and pumped and going, and you won't have that crash like we mentioned earlier on after having a cup of coffee. So
Sounds
50
amazing.
breaths.
Ooh, absolutely love it. You guys definitely check, give this activity a try and let us know down in the comments what you think about it. Tim, before we head off, because we had a 30 to 40 minute limit for
Wow.
this particular workshop, do you have any other cool things that you would like to share, especially for entrepreneurs, for business owners who
Yeah.
are on this journey and who would potentially, after listening to you and this particular workshop, would like to learn more about breath work, about getting started on this journey? What would your tips be for them?
My biggest tip is go a lot deeper with a qualified guide. Like
Mm.
anything, you need a coach if you actually want to benefit fully from this, which is why there's people like us who are here sharing this and who have taken our time and who have studied this in order to be able to share it a lot deeper. And I mentioned earlier that it's great doing these hacks, but we need to get back and have a look what's the cause of this and get your body into a state to naturally release its anxieties and traumas and stresses. And that's a transformational breathwork journey, which is a 45-minute guided deep breathing somatic healing process, where effectively it's a combination of a guide, so me coaching, talking you through it using neuro-linguistic programming, in other words,
Nice.
suggestive communication. Music, so that really get access to the subconscious mind, and deep breathing. So for anybody who has already got maybe a yoga practice or meditation practice, some sort of mindfulness practice, absolutely is ideal and perfect because it fits beautifully in there. If you haven't, it's an excellent way to start understanding the power of your breath and what is entirely possible. So when I do these journeys, because that's what I certified, I qualified in, well, it's about reprogramming the subconscious and allowing the body to release that energy, the trapped energy which is inside of us. Because our bodies don't trap memory, they trap energy. So every
Mm.
bad experience, every traumatic experience, a parent dying, a sibling dying, something just happening as a child is trapped inside of us, which is our triggers, which cause us to react negatively in stressful situations. So
Yep.
now we're looking and saying, let's go back. Allow your body, give your body the space and the place to heal itself naturally. Release that energy in order for you then to be all over, just a lot more peaceful, sleep better, that mind goes to, calms down, and able to handle your daily stresses a lot better. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be a high recommendation. And follow me, find out. I've got more details. I've got free ones that you can try on my website as well. Plus, I often do live ones. So I'm happy to share that with the listeners as well for you to come in and just experience it. And I think that's a key thing in all of this. Experience trumps words.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
can share, we can demonstrate, but until you've done it yourself, then you get belief. And when
Mm.
you get belief and you feel it in here, you know that this is powerful and is an essential addition to your daily routine.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. All right, you guys, that was an amazing workshop. Thank you so much, Tim, for sharing so many cool tips with us, for sharing the theory behind the knowledge, behind the things that already exist in this world. Thank you so much for that. For you wonderful human beings, I would like to remind you that Tim is going to be one of the expert speakers at Freedom Fiesta, and he's going to take us through a 20-minute solo journey on breathwork. And so I'm super excited to have him there, and I'm super excited to see you there as well. All the details to Tim's specific, his social media, his website, all the things that he would like you to check out will be available in the podcast description, along with the tickets. When they go live, I will be putting them and pinning them as the top comment on YouTube. So definitely check that out as well. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to drop them in the comment box so that me or Tim can respond to it, or both of us can jump in there to share different perspectives and share our thoughts on specific questions. Super excited to help you. Thank you. I hope you had fun. Share your biggest takeaway in the comment as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Madhurima, pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yay, let's go.